but super excited to welcome Paul Elisio to our meeting tonight about Meet the Healers, where we're doing a whole lot of interviews with healers and people across the world to just see what it is that they do and how that impacts us and how we can sort of bring it into our life. I feel like I'm kind of doing people a favor that they can find out about all these amazing things without leaving, you know, their lounge chair. So welcome, Paul. Thank you for being on with me tonight.
Thanks for having me on. I'm super excited. I know it's going to be tons of fun and just excited to see where we go and what we talk about.
Yeah, so I met you as a teacher of NLP, timeline therapy and hypnosis, but you do more stuff than that. So do you just want to sort of introduce what it is that you do?
Cool. Yeah. So what I do depends on who I work with and what I'm like teaching at the time. So it varies from physical based modalities where I'm teaching people how to move better, get out of pain, and, you know, perform better as well. Whether it's also nutrition and lifestyle factors. So I look into that stuff with people as well, but then obviously looking at the mental, emotional aspects of what helps a person perform better and obviously helps them get over their roadblocks as well. So there's a full spectrum of that. And I spend most of my time teaching and running courses and also do a lot of coaching as well. But most of my time up until the last few weeks have been traveling and teaching and working with a variety of different people, teaching them to help the people they want to work with. So help themselves to clear some of their blocks and to move forward and be empowered, but also to have the skills to be able to do that with other people as well.
Yeah. So I mentioned on my post leading up to this that basically I measure my life like before NLP and after NLP because it had such a big difference on kind of how I lived my life and all the stuff that was kind of going on in my head. So what is NLP for people that haven't really heard of it before?
Well, good questions. There's as many different ways to say this as there are people doing it. But if you boil it down, NLP comes from modeling what worked. So the mindset behind NLP is finding people that got results and noticing what specific things they were doing that got the results and then replicating that so that you can create the same results. So NLP is a mindset, but also a methodology. So the mindset of NLP is modeling and finding, okay, who's the best people helping people to heal? Who's the best people, you know, achieving that result over there or this result over there? And then noticing what language are they using? Like not just English or whatever, but what kind of structure of their language? What physiology, what psychology, what are their thinking patterns, what are their beliefs, what are their values, what habits and behaviors do they have? And then if you got all those things and boil them down, you'll find things that you can replicate. So a lot of things we teach are NLP techniques because there's all this looking at people and seeing what they did, created techniques, and those techniques were useful for helping people to let go of past emotional issues or to change the way they perceive the world, or, you know, just reframe everything and also ask better questions, communicate with their unconscious mind more effectively, and to be a better coach and obviously do a whole heap of other things as well. So that created a whole heap of tools and techniques after the originators of NLP went out and looked at all these different places and found people that were doing things that were getting amazing results, and then they replicated that. So it can be used in heaps of different areas, but that's really NLP in a nutshell. And, you know, there's certain things that people dive into with it, but that's like the big overview.
Yeah, look, I think that that rings true for me because I have had like I had counseling before or psychology and like investigated lots of different things, but I loved NLP because it actually has techniques. It's kind of like it gives you tools to use when shit's going down so that you can be like, look, all right, you know, I could do this or this or this or this, whereas sometimes in the normal world you just feel a bit like you've done that your whole life, you don't know what to do different, and you can get a bit stuck. So
yeah, and that's where NLP really, there's different tools for different things, and I kind of think of it as like Bunnings, right? Sometimes people say, oh, I don't like NLP, and I'm like, that's like kind of like saying you don't like Bunnings, because if you walk into Bunnings, there's lots of different tools. Some tools are better for some things, and some tools, you know, some people were using the tool wrong, so not getting the result they want. So, you know, you got to use the right tools for the right job, and people have different levels of skills with the tools as well. So, you know, a tool to help with anxiety is really good for anxiety, but it might not be good for something else. So NLP is really an art and a science as well, because you can use the tools and you can build a house, you know, but you need to know the science of how to use them and the art form, because there's lots of different kinds of houses. But there's people that build all these intricate, amazing houses. The same thing with what you can do with NLP. You can just do the basics and just get what you need done, or you can turn it into a real art form and really design things that really transform yourself and other people as well.
Yeah. In my interview with Annie, when we were talking about EFT tapping, she
Yeah.
said she loves skeptics because basically EFT works on everybody, whether they know it or not. Is NLP a bit like that, or do you have to believe in
Yeah.
it?
Well, no. With people that are skeptical, they've at some point in their life made a decision that I don't believe in that, right? So we know that whenever you make a decision, you start filtering reality a certain way. So you'll start to subjectively bias things like to prove your point and also to disprove your point. So you'll delete things that disprove your point, but also you'll filter things that do prove your points as well. So with NLP, we can use techniques to get people to let go of the beliefs. They start looking at all the big picture as well. And also, building rapport is really important in NLP and asking really great questions, because a lot of times people have blocks to things because it prevents them, like it's a safety mechanism, which is great, but sometimes people like to hold on to stuff because it then is an excuse or a reason why they can't move forward. So we call that secondary gain. So, say someone has a weight loss issue or something like that, and you think, oh, they want to lose weight, but they are skeptical to do something that might help them, because if they really did get helped, then they wouldn't have that safety mechanism of keeping the weight on. So maybe they wouldn't let people in emotionally, or they would attract a partner when they're not, like they've got wounding that stops them from doing that. So that's common as well. I found with people that were a bit resistant to stuff to start with, there was some mental block that they had that once you've dived into and cleared that, then everything works really easy after that.
Yeah. And sometimes the biggest skeptics end up being the biggest converts, I guess, down the track.
Yeah. That's definitely true, because they'll have the biggest shift usually as well, because resistance is a lot of blocked energy usually. So once that energy has been knocked over, then things start flying for them and things happen really quickly as well. And, whenever someone has a huge emotional shift in their life, that was always pretty transformative.
Yeah, I'll never forget actually. So like NLP, for anyone that hasn't done it, runs over about 7 days usually. And for the first 3 days, I hated it. Like I was walking into that room and I was feeling so tense and like, I don't know, I was having all these kind of learnings, but I think of it as like breaking open my mind, like cracking open all the little like blocked up spaces. And so that's exactly what happened. Like on about day 4, I think I just like had a massive cry in front of everyone, which was super embarrassing for me at that stage, and let go of a whole lot of stuff. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. And
That's
I think
actually quite a common experience for a lot of people, because what I find is people are in the course learning the new content, but also in the unconscious and background, they've got all their emotional stuff bubbling up because they're hearing all these ideas and concepts, which is triggering things. And, I make jokes and I push buttons on people anyway as well, but do it in a caring and loving way, obviously, as well. But what tends to happen for some people, they hit that pop point, they pop. And then once that happens, everything's real easy to sort of work through and clear. And some people it's earlier in the course, some people it's later. So, there's varying levels of that. But once you've broken through it, it's really, really powerful. And then things start shifting real quick, because, the start of the course, you're learning a lot of new ideas and new concepts and different ways of thinking, where a lot of people come in and they're blaming the outside world. They're saying, these are the reason why I can't have this, that person's an asshole, and then all of a sudden you realize, oh, hold on a sec, it's about me. Oh shit. I'm the one that's holding on to this stuff. I'm the one that, cool. It's all something I'm perceiving, something I'm creating. Then that kind of gives people a bit of a shock as well. And then when they start realizing how easy it is to let go and having a few of those dominoes knocked over, then it all just starts to happen like that as well.
Yeah, and what a relief! Like what a relief it is to feel that happen.
Yeah,
So, how does NLP hypnosis, what you do, like how does that help people to heal? So from like physical, emotional, like how does it kind of work, do you think?
Cool. So in terms of like mental and emotional, when we change the way we see the world, the world we're looking at changes. Okay, so we don't see things the way they are, we see things the way we are. So if you think there's something like triggering or wrong or someone outside that's the problem, that's based on your filters. It's based on something about you that you're seeing, because other people see that person and they go, oh, they're a really nice guy, or they're a great girl. Why are they a jerk to you? That's what I'm kind of interested in. So when you kind of realize that, you realize that anything that's bothering you, triggering you on the outside world, is actually something that is happening inside you. So the way I like to describe it is, if someone walked up and pushed me on the arm and it hurt me, they like touched me here and I was like, who's the one that needs healing? Is it the person that touched or the person that had the thing? And so the person you go, oh, they did it, they're the one, the bad person. No. If it hurt you, it's got something to do with you. So things can only get in if there's a wound in you for it to get in. Like the boat only leaks if there's a hole in the boat.
Yeah.
So if anything is getting under your skin and getting on your nerves, then it's something about you. So with the techniques we teach people how to let that go and really work on their stuff. And what tends to happen is you start staying in your lane more, you start letting other people push your buttons and distract you, which is really, really powerful. And the world changes, not because the world changes, but because you see it different and you start seeing all the different things that you didn't notice before. So that's really the mental, emotional aspect of it. Then in terms of the body and healing, there's lots of different things that go along with that. Like suppressed emotions tend to cause, like emotions is energy in motion, and it should be in motion. And the more you deal with emotions, the less like tidal waves you tend up having, like it's water, right? So once your body kind of lets go or lets that emotion free or releases it or stops it from being blocked and holding in the body, like if someone's had trauma that they saw as trauma, something that happened to them that they had emotional attachment to, that they've never dealt with their whole life, imagine that like background noise of all these things bubbling around. That's all stress that's happening unconsciously. So when people have actually dealt with that emotional suppression or that emotional baggage that they've got in the background, it's actually cleared out the body and the nervous system and the hormonal system, and things start to run more effectively because it's not going up against those blocks and, you know, overrunning some systems, shutting down other systems. So, you know, hormones, different chemistry in the body changes when people change their perception of the past and what they thought happened to them and the emotions that were around those things. So, you know, everything from chronic pain to different illnesses, you know, we don't cure anything, we can't say that, but people do have huge physical and physiological changes based on the work that we can do with the different techniques that we use.
Yeah, I saw an amazing demonstration of the chronic pain technique at MasterPrac, and it was it's almost hard to believe when someone's had a pain in an area for like 25 years or something, you know, and then just from asking them certain questions and letting them to sort of start moving that energy, that pain can go down to 0 from 9. It's eye-opening.
It's huge. And like, it almost doesn't matter how long they've had it. And I've done these kind of techniques over the phone. There's so many different ones depending on which tools you use, but the one you're talking about is really, really effective. And it really teaches people to pay attention, because pain really stands for pay attention, integrate now. And if you do have pain in whatever form that is in your life, it's just trying to get your attention and trying to get you to notice it and to learn from it and to, you know, focus on the things that are really important to you in life. And that's always fun for me to demonstrate, because people just like, no, that's not good. And actually a lot of people in the crowd as well, I think there was, I don't know, maybe a dozen people that put their hand up that had chronic pain. And even by the end of it, most of them got down to 0 as well, even though I wasn't working on them, which is fun, you know? So it's like group therapy kind of work, getting rid of chronic pain, which is super cool. And it's something, pain's always something that interests me, because I did a lot of physical work with clients for a fair while. Like I was a PT and got really good at doing musculoskeletal rehab with people, and got a lot of people that were in pain. And then basically over time, you know, learn a lot of tools and techniques. So I did a lot of physical work, but I found that you can only get to a certain point with that because some of their problems weren't disappearing. And I realized after learning some of the other holistic stuff I did, that you had to look at the mental, emotional aspects, because some people won't heal unless that's addressed. And that's what got me to dive deeper into the NLP and hypnosis and some of the other things that I do as well.
Yeah, I've been watching the Radical Remissions series lately, and one of the key factors in like crazy remissions from like terminal illnesses was the forgiveness. So that's another sort of thing that is super powerful in, I guess, NLP and hypno and all of those modalities, is the ability to, that's like moving, I talk about that as just like moving emotions and moving stuck energy as well, because like you said, the person who has wronged you, they're not suffering, they're walking around doing what they're doing, and you're the one that's kind of holding all of that in your body and potentially really, really suffering from it. So I find that forgiveness is like one of the most like kind of instant shifts in people. Is that what you find as well?
Yeah, so obviously we know that there's nothing wrong in the universe, and we just perceive that something didn't go the way it was supposed to, and then we blame other people for it, and then we hold that for a long time. So some of the techniques that we've added into some of the courses help you to let go of that hang up that you have with the other person, and that's super transformative, because you're not holding onto that energetic bullshit about the other person. So then they're not in your mind taking up headspace anymore. You're not, you know, thinking about that person with negative energy, which then makes you feel like you only know how angry to be about to someone else by feeling it in your body. So you go, I need to be this angry. No, this angry. And then you just fill yourself with anger that's about someone else, but it's really just that your creation inside yourself. And when you let that go, it's just not wasting your energy anymore, which is super cool. And I think a lot of people don't understand the mechanics of that. They think, I need to hate the other person forever because then it'll make it okay. No, you know, it's, you know, really, there's nothing to hate about that. There's not, and everything that's happened in your life, you can learn from, you can be grateful for. And that's really what we're trying to do with people.
Yeah. And you never have to see that person again, you know, like if you don't want to. It's not about forgiving them and then going and interacting with them on a daily basis. You have to be
best mates with them, that's for sure. Yeah.
So what's some of the main, like in your coaching days, I know you teach a lot more now, but in your coaching days, I know that you do like a lot of like top level athletes and stuff now, but before that, like what's the main, I guess, conditions or reasons that people have come for coaching?
Wow, it's been a huge spectrum for me because I was lucky enough to work with a variety of people when I did physical work with people. And, you know, everyone's got stuff. So, you know, I joke about in the classroom, it doesn't matter if someone's got a fear of paddle pop sticks or fear of hanging objects, or they've had, you know, they dropped their ice cream when they were a kid. The spectrum's huge. I've got everything from, you know, all the different kinds of abuse, physical, mental, sexual, etc., etc. But to me, I just treat it as if it's the same thing. And I know people that haven't done my courses are going to be like, oh, you're a fucking jerk, whatever, like cool story, bro. But in my head, it's something happened. They interpret it some way and that made them feel some way. So that's all it is. It doesn't matter. Like some of the hardest things I've worked on with clients have been, you know, things that you would look at and laugh at and go, that's nothing. Why would someone feel anything about that? But then over the course of years, it's turned into some monster problem. But, you know, some of the clients that have had the biggest, you know, things that people go, I don't know how I would even work with that, are the easiest to work with because it's just bang, bang, bang. We know exactly where it came from. It's easy to deal with. But other people that don't know where these things built up from and it started to turn to all these different things inside their head, they're harder to deal with. So harder, it just takes a bit more unpicking. So I've been lucky enough to work with tons of different people on lots of different things. There's a huge spectrum and it's always surprising what kind of things I have worked on. And when someone says, oh, have you worked on that? And there's very rarely when there's something that hasn't yet, but I've worked on tons of things that you wouldn't think people would even have as an issue or you wouldn't even know would be an issue, but then really common stuff. Like I've done hundreds of quit smoking sessions, weight loss stuff, you know, every sort of abuse that you could do. But yeah, it's always interesting. And for me, I don't work with as many clients. I still have some really cool clients that I work with, but I tend to refer out to a lot of my students. But yeah, it's always interesting, always fun. And at the end of the day, you just got to believe in your client's ability to let it go more than they believe in their ability or believe in the real problem or the real problem, because we know it's not really real. It's they are feeling it, they're experiencing it, but it's something they're constructing neurologically. It's not an actual, like, where is their past? Doesn't exist anymore. It's something they keep reconstructing in the now. So for me, it's almost like it doesn't matter what the client says. I know that we can let it go and move past it. So how it showed up in their life is always going to look different, and it's sometimes super interesting, but I still don't believe it. I just know it's a story that they've told themselves based on what they thought happened, and that's not really it either.
Yeah. So that thing that you said was so powerful, that basically believing that there is no problem is the first step, because when you're holding that space so strongly, they're like trying to kind of go to the problem all the time is immediately kind of starts to unravel a little bit. And that's been my experience on both ends of, you know, either coaching someone or being coached by someone.
So
when your problem,
I harp on this a lot in my trainings, because if you go out and coach people and you think people have something wrong with them or have a problem, then you're already starting from the back foot. And then when you start talking to your client and you start telling me what's going on, everything you say is a form of hypnosis. So if your client is talking to you about their problem and you start believing they've really got a problem, you start believing it, then you're getting hypnotized by your client. And that's not what you're getting paid for, right? You're there to unhypnotize them. You're there to break the trance they've put themselves in where they believe something bad happened to them, where they believe they can't get over it, where that person's bad, this thing happened. That's all just something they've got themselves in that trance or that state of hypnosis where that's how they see the world. Our job is to unhypnotize them out of it and help them go into a better reality that they can now create based on what you've done.
Yeah, and that's where it's so different getting coaching than talking to your best friends or your family or your loved ones sometimes, because that whole like sympathy and empathy thing can just really make things so cemented into being so real and so big, can't they?
Yeah, well, the more people you tell about the story and the more they see you as that too, the more it creates that. And every time you go into the emotions, every time you go into the story, it's like reinforcing it. And the more the emotion build up, the more real it is. And then you talk about it again, which builds another layer on it. And then, everyone sees you as this broken person that, has all this trauma, and some people get like, people feel sorry for them. People look after them differently because, poor you. But if you really want to help people, the best thing to do is to see past that. Am I allowed to swear on this?
Yeah. Go for it.
See past the BS, the belief system or the bullshit that people create. Because look, I know it's real for them, but if they want their life to be different, they have to see past that. So we have to believe more in the fact that it's not real and that they can let it go than the fact that they believe it's real. And this is, what you do, and a lot of the coaches that I teach do. And it's really probably the most important thing that I teach, I believe. Doesn't matter, like, of all the techniques, that and the belief in your client and their ability to let go is the most important thing.
Yeah. And, I don't think, like you said, I don't think it matters how long you have had that belief or been running that for, because I know when I came into NLP, I'd had a lot of events in my childhood and teenage years and stuff that I was carrying. And I had just really believed up until that point that I was a bit of like a melancholy person. I was just a bit sad most of the time, and I was just working with it and like finding ways to like soothe it and like all this other shit. And, like 1 week of learning that and massive changes happened. And then again, when I did hypnotherapy, like on top of that, it's like it kind of, one was the logical learning and all that sort of stuff. And the other one was just this kind of unconscious, obviously, more whispered, deeper, profound event for me as well. And it literally changed my mind from this whirlpool of kind of commentary all the time that was always telling me off and telling me what was going on to just, I remember it was quiet for a whole day when I drove home, and I just went, whoa, this is a really weird feeling in my head.
Hypno is cool because we go into different flavors of trance each day. And I've had people that have done like full 10-day meditation retreats that say they've gone into deeper, more profound states in the hypnosis course. And I remember doing a technique with you, the Days of Wonder-One, where we went back to one of the first times that you were like bored, and then times that you were excited and curious either side. And doing that technique with you, that was really fun. And I feel like I can remember that moment. And it's like that moment for me, I really saw I saw all the shifts in you as you went. But that one, like, it kind of, that took you from just like letting go of problems to being really excited about doing other things. Like it went from problem focused to creation kind of thing. In my perception anyway, and like I could be completely wrong because I don't know what went in your head, but like I felt like it light bulbed you kind of thing, like something just went ding, and then from then on, like it was really exciting to see what you did. Like, do you want to share a little bit about that? Because I can remember that kind of standing out in my head.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing about hypno for me is, as you said, like I had a viewpoint of what my life was and how it had been and all this sort of stuff, but in hypno, as you know, we often regress to good memories, as well as like we have all of these different viewpoints, and I just so repeatedly saw these beautiful moments of my life that I had totally forgotten, because they were just moments, it would be a birthday party or some other thing in the park or whatever it was, but I felt like it just balanced everything out for me to really go, oh, like my viewpoint's been really skewed to this tunnel vision of this like one stream of things that happened, but there was all these other streams of things going on all the time. And it just made me feel so grateful, like so grateful. And I guess, you know, when you're watching the TV and you're like, oh, I wish that I could have experienced that. And I bloody, you know, had heaps of experiences like that. And, you know, that's probably my favorite thing to do with clients is watch them bounce on trampoline when they're 4, or like just all the things that they've done, and like their face changes and their body changes, and it's like, it's visually the most enjoyable thing to witness, I think, from my point of view.
I definitely agree with that. It's amazing what people have stored in their subconscious or unconscious mind, depending on which language you want to use, that people go, there's no way I would remember that. I can't remember anything from when I was a kid. And then next minute, they're like, oh my God, I can see the color of this and I can smell that. And I can like, oh, I forgot that was there. Oh, yeah, I used to have this. And like, then they're fully reliving past memories. And like I said, for a lot of people, they've had this like focus on the highlight reel of all the negative shit that they perceived happening in their life. And they just replay all those like bad highlights kind of thing, when in truth, their life has a lot of things that they just are there, but they weren't looking for them. So they've gone into Bunnings or they've gone into the warehouse and they've only been looking down one aisle at the same 12, whatever it is, things. And then now we've gone, turn on all the lights and gone, look at all these things. They go, oh, wow. Oh, this. Oh, yeah, that. And that really like just changes like your perception of your whole life, which is really, really profound as a coach to experience with people. And one thing I love about the hypno is it's always different with every single client. It's even if you do the same like procedure, same sort of techniques, you always end up somewhere else. You always end up doing something different. So it's always interesting, always exciting. And the clients, even if they do the same thing the next session, it's never the same. And it's always transformative, which is really cool.
Yeah. And that's from light trance to like quite a deep trance. Cause I've seen everything in between of like, you know, someone that's basically, I pretty much use light trance a lot of the time. People are speaking back to you, they're responding, but they're still having these images in their mind. They're still feeling the feelings in their body, all the way through to where someone's kind of quiet, you know, conked out, and you're just using their fingers to communicate with them and that sort of a thing. There is still definitely that I find some hesitation in some people around hypnosis. They're worried that, you know, the stage hypnotism stuff is going to, you know, come into play, or we're going to get them to do things, or like, what would you respond to that?
Cool. Well, over the years, my understanding and idea of hypnosis changed dramatically. The more I learn about it, the more I realize how it's pretty much everything we do is hypnosis, right? Mm-hmm. But most people don't have that belief system because all they've seen is the television show, all they've seen is the stage show, all they've do is heard stories. And as a kid, we've heard all these things and seen in movies and all this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So, you know, that they've been hypnotized to think hypnosis is a certain way. You know, they've got to, based on something they saw, they think, oh, that's how it is and that's how everyone does it. No, stage hypnosis has a place, and without stage hypnosis, hypnosis wouldn't be where it is today. So hypnosis initially was a healing modality. It was used even through all different, like if you look at religions and shamanism and all the different, like pointing a bone at someone and them dying, they all go back to basically at the root hypnosis. And even like mesmerism and healing people with stones and all these kind of things, magnets, they all have the same ideas behind them that hypnosis has. So what is really interesting about that was at some point there's a little bit of hair, like my cat's been jumping around, so I was just like getting that there. What's really interesting is hypnosis was kind of shunned early on by some of the medical boards because they wanted to keep, you know, cutting people and putting leeches on them and stuff like that instead of hypnosis, because that's what medicine was at that stage. The stage hypnosis kept it alive. So stage hypnotists would keep going, and what actually happened after a certain period of time, that kept the art form alive, and people were interested in hypnosis because of what they saw on stage. And then eventually the medical association started letting hypnosis be practiced and for healing and through people that actually were qualified to do that. And that's what brought it back into popularity again. But a lot of people find hypnosis through the stage stuff and they go, oh, that looks amazing. Wonder if that'll help me lose weight, or wonder if that'll help me quit smoking, which is really great because it gets people in the door. But a lot of people, also with the good of that is the bad of that, which is people think they're going to cluck like chickens. They think they're going to tell you all their like deepest, darkest secrets. And you know what? We don't want to fucking know that shit. So unless we do, then we do. And like, we only need to know what we need to know to help you. And for a lot of times, I don't even need to know what happened to the client. I don't even need to know what things, like we don't need to know the content of a lot of stuff for most of what we do. And when people understand what hypnosis is and what it isn't, then they start, and how easy it is and how we're going in and out of trances all the time. Like one thing for most people, they don't realize that whenever they get triggered emotionally, they start regressing back in their nervous system to acting like they were when they were younger. So for people listening, you've probably been told you're acting like a child. I feel like I'm, having an argument with a kid. Well, if you're in an emotion, you're getting an argument and there's like anger or sadness or whatever coming up, you'll tend to regress back in your nervous system and think and act like a child, because it's shutting off the higher brain centers and it's putting you into
see those pictures, have those memories, it's all flashing up around you.
Yeah, it just triggered, right? So that is really common. And for you to even understand what we're saying, you have to hear the words we're saying and create mental images based on what we're saying to make your own representation of what we're saying to make sense in your world. So every communication is hypnotic in nature. Even how someone stands next to you, how someone looks at you, that's unconscious communication, non-verbal, which then affects your physiology and psychology. So everything is influencing you, and everything you say to yourself is also direct suggestions to yourself, because your body, your mind is listening to what you say internally, what you say about other people, and is responding. So everything we do is hypnosis, in my opinion. It took me a long time to get to that, even after teaching it and being certified. I didn't even know that. But then the more I've done, the more I realize that, and how it's useful to teach people the tools of hypnosis to navigate themselves better and to understand the process of life better. Because I think it's a life skill, and you might not want to be putting people in the trances, but they already are. And you'll see yourself and your friends going in and out of trances all the time, and you'll start to notice, is that useful? Is that unuseful? Is this getting me closer to what I want, more away from what I want? And that's what I really love about it. Whether you become a coach or therapist, it's cool, but if you can navigate your body mind better, that's even cooler.
Oh, look, I would spend every dollar I've ever spent on that, on what's happened for me since. But I guess the thing that makes me so passionate about it is that people are out there fighting wars in their own mind all day, every day, like walking around, like you said, saying some stuff to themselves, believing some stuff about something else, and like suffering so much. And, I just think anytime that we can give anyone a tool to just like stop that suffering, if not even just go to like a great place, like just to tone down the suffering, is like huge in any time.
Yeah, I think that's it too. Like, people don't realize how powerful it is, even just to go into a trance, just not even if you're doing a technique, but just to relax the mind, relax the body, to calm it down. And like, it's like a bucket of water, that idea. If you've got the dirty water and you keep shaking it up, it's just going to keep, you can't see through it, and it's all, messy, noisy, whatever you want to say. Let it sit. Eventually it all just settles down, and then they've got a clear mind, relaxed body. They can operate a lot more effectively from that. Then if you add techniques in, or suggestions, or visualization, then that becomes really powerful.
Yeah. And you touched on the fact that people don't have to kind of live through the bad things. So as I said, I have gone to psychologist before who was wonderful, but definitely I find that model is very much like the talk therapy model. You do relive all these experiences in horrible detail again, which not everyone wants to do, I guess, and it has its limitations, and so some of the deepest profound outcomes I've had myself or with other people have been with just a vague picture of something, or quite a removed experience for them, which is wonderful, because I do think that's another thing that sometimes makes people hesitate to come in, is they're like, I don't want to look at that stuff, so is that your experience as well?
Yeah, well, if it's not about, for me, it's not about the stuff, it's about how they're thinking about it. So where have they got the camera pointed, right? So we can do it from different angles, we can do it from different perspectives. There's lots of different tools and techniques, and we just do whatever the client needs at the time. Eventually we want them to be able to look at that and see that event and all the things that happened and be like, oh, cool, whatever, that's just what it was. I'm actually glad that happened to me. I'm actually grateful that happened, because it made me who I am today. That's the ideal, and for some clients we use a few techniques, different things back and forth, but it's easier than people think. And that's what always like surprises most people. They're like, wow, we got more done in their 5 minutes than I have in 5 years of therapy. A lot of people are like, that one session, I've been seeing counselors and psychologists for 15 years, and you did more in that one session. And like, how come everyone's not doing this? I'm like, well, that's why I'm teaching people this stuff, because I think it's useful, right? So it's always like easier than people think. And they just need to take a step and give it a go, because I mean, what have they got to lose? Like, they're just gonna hold on to the crap forever. It's better off, everyone's gonna need a different approach. And for some clients, I just jump straight in and help them to let go of their biggest issue straight away. And other clients, you'll work around things. I like to say, if you're going to cut down a tree, sometimes you can just cut it straight down and knock it down. It's cool. Sometimes you try to cut the tree down. There's a house here. You go, oh, I can't do that. We have to like prune it a little bit, make sure it goes this way. And that's what you do with every client. You just kind of adjust and use different methods and different techniques, which will be best suited for them at where they're at the moment.
Yeah, and keep them safe and calm and feeling good. But the funny thing is, as you said, it's not always, it's not about the thing, and often it's not even, that wasn't even the event. So just like for the person, one of the funniest things that really, I think, broke it for me forever of just believing anything was I was having this like real fear sensation around public speaking and a few other things. So I did some hypno on fear, and it all came from when I was about 3 and I was at the park and I could see this big slippery dip, and I looked around and I couldn't see my dad. And I thought I was going to die, and that was this whole thing I'd been running, was kind of on this really such a small event that we would all see happen to kids regularly, and I was running this whole thing on it that was causing me a lot of drama in my body and in my life. And that's when I finally went, oh, look, it's not about the thing, it's not about anything really, if you can just untangle it.
Yeah, and that's what I think is fascinating, because clients will book in because of a relationship issue or because of a job thing or because of something that happened to them recently. But when we go back to where that emotion started, it's usually way back early in life, and it's something like dropping your ice cream or not being a slippery dip, and not like, sometimes it's different than that, and some people like make it mean more because it's some other thing. But the truth is, it didn't matter what happened there. It could, slippery dip, or seeing someone get hurt or being hurt. It's a thing happened. Then you felt the thing and you made a story about it, and that's what it is. The content of it isn't as important as what you made it mean a lot of times. So for me, I've just done so many sessions and so many things with different clients that at the end of the day, it didn't matter what happened there. They all got to the same point anyway. And like, sometimes it is useful to know, because it then will give you other things to work on and things to check for. But like, people that don't know this, they're going to argue with me about it. But I had like the last course I ran, which was in the Sunshine Coast, one of the biggest resistant students was like, bullshit, I don't believe any of that, blah, blah, blah. And this is when I was still talking about, the things I just said, like, client's problem isn't real. It's just a perception based on something that they thought happened to them. They're recreating it neurologically, blah, 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 building a story worse and worse. And they had, because they had a lot of stuff in the background. And by the time we got to some of the bigger techniques and clearing stuff, they were like, I thought you were a dickhead, I hated you, but now it all worked for me, and it's really powerful. And they've done sessions after, and they were like, it's the best week of my life. They're off of medication since the course as well, and they've just been a raving fan because it worked for them, and they thought, this is fucking easy. Like, if I knew it was that easy, I wouldn't have, they've been through lots of other coaching and psychology and stuff before, but when you have that mindset and you treat it that way, it works that way. That's how the world works. You can set
yourself free.
Yeah.
So I've seen a lot of like amazing things in courses I've done, but what are some of the like more like eye-opening things that you've seen? I know you told us a story that time about the lady that was pregnant. Do you want to share that one? Or is there something?
That's cool. That's one of my students, Amanda. This is one of my courses I ran up in the Gold Coast a few years back. It was really cool. A great group of students, it always is. But we were up in the Gold Coast, and she was pregnant, and I think she wasn't super far on, but she was she's a small petite girl, but she was big, like she was super showy. Looking at her, I was like, for her size and shape, I was like, she's gonna pop. So I was thinking she's like 8-9 months, getting close to the end. But I think she was only like 3 or 4 months, so it didn't make sense looking at her. And I didn't want to say anything, because you just be nice and like don't say anything. Like I think when I asked her how far along she was, I was surprised, because she was looking like quite what's the technical word? I don't know.
Gestated? I don't know.
Yeah, gestated. I was going to say like quite cooked, ready to get out of the oven. But anyway, she went through and did all the course, and towards the end of the course, we did a couple techniques. And one of them was the parts integration, where she let go of this conflict she had internally. The next day she walked in, and it was like, I was like, where the fuck did the baby go? Like, she was just like, shh. Like, it was like this, and then it was like, shh. And then like everyone's like, and she said, yeah, look, I woke up today and like literally looked like I've lost kilos. And she went from looking like she was going to pop 9 months pregnant to looking like a 3-month, 4-month, pregnant woman, which was cool. And it was just the biggest physical transformation I saw overnight. I've had people lose kilos overnight and like look like younger and all sorts as well. Like even, you don't even overnight, just in a technique, they look younger, like as soon as they let something go. That was probably one of the biggest physical ones. Like I've seen people get rid of chronic pain. I've seen people stand up and move their body. They couldn't lift their arm, and all of a sudden they can do everything like that. Also a lady who was in a car crash who was walking around like a C. She was like this. I can't even put myself in that posture. She was like walking around, like she was looking at the ground. She couldn't lift up. So I did some stuff with her, and by the end of it, she could stand up, rotate, and she hadn't been able to do that in years. And like could be like, there was nothing that was restricting her at all anymore. And she literally couldn't lift. She was stuck in that position for years. And she goes, nothing's ever worked like this. I'm like, yeah, well, I'm like all sorts of massage and manual stuff, but wasn't working on the real problem. And basically once that was gone, she was fine. And the funny thing was, that was in a free session. So it was really funny. I just did that, and then she didn't have to ever see me again.
Yeah.
Right. So this is cool. But you could see some huge transformations, and it looks different for everyone. And some people you can't physically see it, but their whole life's different, and that's cool as well.
Yeah. So mind, body, and all that sort of stuff. Like, do you have a actual personal wellness like routine or anything that you do with your life?
Yeah, well, it's changing all the time. I've gone through different phases and stages of my life depending on what I'm doing and traveling. I got into a pretty bad routine a few years back with so much travel. I wasn't training as much, hard to eat good on the road, and all these bullshit stories I was telling myself. And then I kind of, this was just over a year and a half ago, not the master prac that you were in, the one before. I was about 15-ish kilos heavier than I am now. Not all body fat. Some was muscle as well. But I was prior to that, I was getting really bad headaches, really bad, because I just wasn't sleeping because of travel, all sorts of stuff. And then got back on the routine, and I've been back on track since then. Obviously it's changed now with what's going on in the world. Yeah. But I do my best to be physically active every day. I go for walks twice a day with my dog. I train in some description, whether it's weights, get out and shoot hoops, try to as often as possible, depending on weather. So I'm physically active. I'm always training, always moving, doing strength work, doing flexibility work. But in terms of nutrition, over the years, I've done all different approaches, and I was testing some different approaches more recently. But at the end of the day, I still like going back to eating as healthy as possible, organic, real food, eat real food. Measuring in terms of like the macronutrient ratio and the total number of calories is also very useful, depending on what you're trying to do with your body. I'm a big believer in that everyone needs to have a certain amount of sleep and having a certain sleep pattern. So I try to get to bed at 10, wake up at sort of 6 every day, 10:30, 6:30, drink heaps of water, do mental, emotional work often, because that is huge. And have goals and dreams and do the things that are important to you in life. That makes a huge difference. And study, develop yourself, whatever inspires and motivates you. Like the routine's different. Like I do cold showers, do breathing. There's like little specifics of it that you might want to know. I don't know, but overall, there's like a few things I think are vital, which is like moving every day, eating well, and sleeping well, and having a good outlook on life, and focus on things that you want to have goals and dreams and develop those daily. That's probably if everyone does that, that's the biggest thing. I don't know if you need to know any more details, but
yeah. So, I mean, you shared with us that when you first discovered this stuff, you had pretty crippling anxiety to start off with. So, in those days, I guess doing that mental, emotional work was like a really big part of your routine to kind of get back on track.
Yeah, well, it was necessary. So, like a little bit of context, in my late teens, early 20s, I really suffered with pretty debilitating anxiety and fear of everything, basically. I got to the point where I couldn't really leave the house, kind of like what we're going through now. Right, triggered. No, but this was self-induced. This was because of how I was thinking and what I was doing. So I used to have to basically run through shopping centers, not because I was afraid of the germs, but just because I was losing my shit. I used to have really bad panic attacks and anxiety to the point where there's a couple days where I blacked out and couldn't even remember what the hell happened. Not because I was on anything, just because like of how much stress my body was under. And then I started developing some self-hypnosis skills, and I started learning the basics of NLP, and basically went from a kid that couldn't leave his bedroom with physical like irritable bowel syndrome and all these other things that were starting to develop, to basically being comfortable in the biggest gym in South Australia, running workshops, working with clients, doing corporate workshops, traveling around all over the place, teaching, and chuck me in front of a room in front of people and say talk and I'm cool. So I know what's possible for people, and I know where I was, and I didn't think anyone could help me. Doctors and everything wanted to stick tubes in up both ends, and I didn't really want a piece of that, and they didn't really know what to do with me, and no one asked the right questions or even knew to look at the mental emotional aspect, which was really powerful for me, because I learned that for myself, went to work with physical stuff with clients, and then end up back in the mental emotional stuff anyway, because that's where I needed to work with people. So it's so important for everyone to, mental health's become more of a thing these days, and people are starting to recognize and realize how important it is, but we're still way off from like making it useful for everyone. There's still a lot of things that, are out there that, maybe necessarily aren't getting people to where they need to be as quick as they could be.
Yeah, maybe all the transformational stuff that's going on right now is going to kind of shift that a little bit.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Like, I think a lot of people are pushed into their stuff right now. For some people that I've talked to, because there's nowhere to hide from it. It's just there. And when people are under stress, they tend to regress. And like, I find that a lot of people's stuff comes up when they are not looking after themselves physically, mentally, emotionally, nutritionally, all those kind of things. So the more stressed their body becomes, the easier it is to trigger it, kind of thing. So it starts like piling up, and then people have all this shit come up, and then it's like good for them to deal with it then, because if they didn't get to that point, a lot of people don't do it when there's like, you don't clean the car when there's one little bit of dust on it. You clean it when it's covered in bird shit, right? So this is what's happening to a lot of people right now. Some other people are really realizing what's important to them, doing cool stuff like we were chatting earlier. You're doing a lot of really cool things like interviewing and doing all the fun stuff that you want to do, but you were too busy before now. And that's what I think is also great about this too. Some people are really stepping into it, and some people are getting forced to sort of step up as well.
Yeah, this is off the topic, but it's a question I've always wanted to know. Like, why is it that when you feel stressed or bad, that often we like also self-sabotage at that moment? It's like we want to like punish ourselves more or something. Like, I've certainly had it where you're like, oh well.
A lot of things, a lot of different reasons. If you're like feeling emotionally triggered, then you're going to be regressing. So you're not going to be thinking clearly. You're not going to be that. And also, like I talked about, under stress, people regress not only psychologically, but also neurologically and physiology. We start to go back into primitive brain centers. So we're not thinking with our logical, rational, like higher centers of our brain. We're starting to think with our primal fight or flight, respond, react kind of centers. And we are more hedonistic. We tend to go for the instant gratification to change how we feel versus the long-term goal. So this is where when people are stressed, they might want to lose a certain amount of weight, but you get triggered and they start stressing, and they just want the quick fix to make them feel better, which then they'll eat it, they'll feel bad about eating it, and then they'll start a cycle which then keeps it going. So they'll beat themselves up mentally, which then they feel bad about, and they need to feel good again. And if they're not being able to think above it, they're still in that fight or flight state, and in the lower brain centers, they'll want the quick fix again, so they'll eat something worse again, which then they'll feel bad about, and then it just starts the cycle again.
Yeah. So you said before that one thing you think is super important is people having like a forward vision, like a goal, working towards something.
Yes.
Is that if there was number one thing that people would just add into their lives from your perspective to increase their wellness, overall wellness, what would that be? Would that be that?
Well, I think knowing your values and knowing what's important to you, and then setting a goal, vision, a dream, a mission, purpose kind of thing around that. Because when people focus on their values and attaining a goal that will help them to achieve it, they switch on the higher parts of their brain. They start to have more vision, clarity, and then they start to direct their life to being fulfilled. Because when you live your values, you're feeling more fulfilled, and so you're going to do less things that just knock you off path, or the quick fix, instant gratification stuff, when you're focused on the goal, the vision, the dream, to keep you on track. So instead of doing this kind of up and down cycles, people will be more in a straight line to where they want to go if they have that. So I think for a lot of people, like they have all the things going on. If they let that go, then they've got the energy and focus then to move forward. Sometimes giving them something to move forward to will be great. Some people need to go backwards before they go forward. So they clear out that stuff behind them, then they can focus forward, because they're trying to go forward but looking in the rear vision mirror. So sometimes we need to go where they're looking anyway and just get rid of that, then to move forward. But everyone's going to benefit from having some forward focus or goal or mission that they're moving towards as well.
Yeah, cool. And I mean, life is just like a cyclical thing, isn't it? Because it's not like you ever one day just are totally fixed and you're like, oh yeah, well, like now I'm just zen and everything's fine and I'll never have any problems again. But by doing this work, I guess, as you've said, you can get better problems. So rather than have this level of problems, you can have a different level of problems that are kind of better problems.
Yeah, 100%. So I believe you don't need to be fixed. There's nothing wrong with you. And that's like, the key starting point for everything. We have perception of challenges, problems, how we want to label it. So a lot of times, if we change how we label it and how we perceive it, that's a good start. And like what I say to people is, when you're in primary school, you get a certain kind of test. And if you pass that, then you go to the next level. And the tests get harder as you go. So for some people, their problem is they don't have a relationship. And that's a terrible problem for them. Then for other people, they get into a relationship, then that creates a new problem. Right? So then they've got the problems of a relationship. And then for some people that really want to stretch themselves, they get into 2 relationships at once. And that creates even more issues, right? Same thing with people that don't have kids. They've got no kids, that's a problem. Then they have a kid, then that's a problem. Then if they really want to stretch themselves, they have 2 kids and they have a problem. And if they really want to make it complicated, they have two kids and different partners, and then they create, so the level of problem goes. Same thing with business. People want to start their own business, they have a problem with that. They get a business, then they get the problems of having a business. Then they go higher level business, 2 businesses. So this is what happens in life. It's quite funny. And as you meet the challenges of that level, you can then operate at a higher level. And like what I say to people, there's problems kind of on 2 ends, deficiency or excess. You either don't have it and that's a problem, or you do have it, too much of it. So when I say with money, you either have no money, which is a problem, or you have too much money, which one would you rather? You either have, no relationship or relationship, which one would you rather? So you're going to have one or the other, and it's all based on your perception, what's too much and what's not enough anyway. But it's just fun. Like you just get to adjust the level as you move up and kind of work out what level you want to operate on at some things, and other things you want to go to higher, other ones not as important to you, so you don't want to make it harder. But yeah, I think life's interesting. And when you realize that you're always going to get a new challenge, you start to choose the challenges, because you can evolve by choice or chance. And a lot of people are just playing life as dodgem cars. They're just bouncing around, and wherever they get knocked, that person knocks into them, they want to knock into that person. That person, they want to smash that person, they do that. That's kind of dodgem car approach. But if you really choose to evolve and to grow and to challenge yourself, then you can choose what challenges you want. You go, okay, in my body, instead of getting challenges of not exercising and not looking after myself and getting pains, aches, and diseases, I want to challenge myself to get healthy, to, become fitter, to lift that weight, to run that fast, to look that way. And that's your goal and challenge. And that's going to be a challenge. It's going to have problems about where do I eat? How do I train? It's a better quality problem.
Yeah. I think the thing that I've loved about this is just, even though we know that there will be all these kind of challenges and things as we go through life, like just having some tools, like you said, like opening up all the aisles at Bunnings, gives you that feeling of resilience where you're sort of, I'm not going to say like, come at me, but you're like, hey, life, come at me, because it's all right. Like I'm going to have some things I can do to like work through whatever it is that comes along in my journey.
Yeah, I think I did see you post the other day that you had the Wonder Woman outfit. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like having the superpowers that everyone has, but you're actually getting access to, like, what I say to people is, imagine you've got a warehouse. It's like IKEA. It's like, you know, something, and it's got everything you'd ever want and need in it. For most people, they've got the doors locked, they've got all the lights turned off, and they can only see a few aisles, which is normally the shit that they fucking wish they never had. But it actually could be useful at some points. So what we do as a coach is really turn on all the lights and start showing people down the aisles and go, look, you've got access to all of these things. What do you need right now? What do you want? Because that thing that you thought was bad, we can actually use it this way. You didn't even know you had that, but if you abuse that, that's going to be really powerful for you. Yeah. And people start getting empowered because they realize how powerful they really are. And for a lot of people, they let go of, you know, things that they put all their greatness onto other people. A lot of people put all their hateness and greatness onto other people. They see all the things they hate about themselves and put it onto people. All the things that are great about themselves, they put it onto other people as well. And so what we really do is get people to realize they've got it and they can use it, which is a game changer for a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I've asked people if we can experience something of what they do just to like close off the interview. So I was wondering maybe if you could just show us what like maybe a relaxation hypno is like, or something, whatever you
yeah, for sure, we can do something. So I'm not sure who's on and who's watching this. I don't know if you can even see, but if you are watching this,
where I'm
just make sure you're not operating a vehicle or heavy machinery while you're listening. If you are, I'm not held liable for anything that does or doesn't happen. Can you see it if anyone's commenting or anyone's
just having a look now? Yeah, there's a few people's comments, but yeah, no one's asking for anything specific. So yeah, let's do it.
Cool. Okay, so let's just do a quick relaxation technique. Obviously, the more you go along with this, the better the experience is going to be for you. I'm going to keep this real short, maybe 5 minutes. What we're going to do is just get you in touch with your body and the natural relaxation that's already there, and then just amplify it until you're feeling fantastic. So if you're happy for that and you want to join the ride, then all I'll get you to do is just to sit back, relax, take a deep breath in. That's right. And just do one more deep breath. And this time, really feel the breath going in and out. That's right. And just relax and let the air just pass out of your body. And if you haven't closed your eyes, then I invite you to, if it's safe for you to do. If not, you can keep your eyes open. But if it's safe for you to close your eyes, then take a deep breath and close your eyes. And as you close your eyes, and I'll do it with you, keep your eyes closed. And I just want you to scan your body from head to toe. Imagine a scanner just going zzz, zzz, from the top of your head to the tips of your feet. And I want you to scan your body and find the part of your body that's the most relaxed. It could be anywhere. Just notice where you feel the most relaxed. Notice the top half or the bottom half, the right or left, and just notice. It could be specific. It could be somewhere that you notice now. And I want you to focus on that part of your body. Take a deep breath in. And as you blow out, let that relaxation start to spread. As you focus on it more, the more you focus on it, the more you relax. And that part of your body, I want you to give that feeling a color. Take a deep breath in. And double that color. Let that color start to flow from that part of your body through the rest of your body now. And as it starts to spread, take another breath. And double that feeling even more. And notice as it spreads through your body, you can begin to relax. Because you've relaxed before, that means you can relax now. And the more you relax, the deeper you go. The deeper you go, the more you relax now. And as you feel that relaxed feeling, notice as it spreads, your unconscious knows how to feel relaxed because you've been relaxed. And the more you relax, the deeper you go. The deeper you go, the more you relax now. Because in a moment, I'm going to count to 3 and you're going to come back to the room. But before then, take that color and let it spin through your body. Notice how it moves and move it faster if that feels better. Or you can slow it down if that feels even more relaxed now. And what I want you to do in your mind is think of a time and place where you want to feel more relaxed now, where you need that relaxation. And go there in your mind. Then take a deep breath. Bring back that color and let it flow through your whole body now. Noticing you can feel relaxed there. And if you can feel relaxed there, that means you can feel more relaxed in more times and more places, because it's natural and normal for you to feel relaxed, calm, and centered. And when you feel centered, poised, and relaxed, that means you're more confident. And notice how you think and feel more confident there now. Take another breath and go to another time or place where you can feel this relaxation again. Take a deep breath in. Bring back that color and let it flow from head to toe. And if you can feel relaxed there, that means you can feel relaxed in more times, in more places now, because you're learning to feel more relaxed. And the more you focused on feeling relaxed, the more you feel relaxed now. Take another breath. Find one more time. Go there now. See what you'd see, hear what you'd hear, feel what you'd feel, and double that relaxed feeling. Take a deep breath. Bring back that color and let it flow from head to toe. And those 3 times can symbolize 3 more times. And those 3 times can symbolize 3 more times now as you feel that relaxation flowing from head to toe through your whole body now. Double it. And in a moment, on the count of 3, you're going to come back to the room feeling calm, relaxed, and centered. Knowing that you can be cool, calm, and confident just by taking a deep breath. Bringing back that color into your body and knowing it's there for you, because it's easy to relax, because you know how to relax and you've been relaxed before. And anything that's ever been a worry or stress to you before, you've made it through. And you can relax knowing you've handled that, and knowing that anything that comes in your future, you'll be able to get through. Take a deep breath, double that feeling one more time, because in a moment I'm going to count to 3 and bring you back to the room. But before then, just go even deeper, even more relaxed. And just take a moment to enjoy the relaxed feeling. Imagine that color dropping on the top of your head and flowing from head to toe, and let the tension disappear from your body now. Letting go of all the tension in your neck, all the tension in your shoulders, all the way down your back, into your hips. Take a deep breath, letting it flow out of your legs, out of your arms, out of your hands, and relaxing even deeper now. Letting go of all of that residual. Just relax now. 1, you can feel yourself in the chair. Take a deep breath in. 2, let the energy start to flow through your body, becoming more alert. And 3, take a deep breath in, wiggle your toes and breathe through your nose, and coming slowly back to the room.
That was wonderful. Thank you.
That's all right. This is a quick little relaxation for everyone. Hopefully everyone that joined in enjoyed that. Thank you for going along with us tonight. If you did do that, if you didn't, go back and listen to it later. It will still be effective. And now that you've heard it, and if you didn't do it, you know that's all we did, just a relaxing sort of meditation.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I'll get everybody to write replay if they're watching in the replay, or drop us some emojis for our session tonight. And I'll put it up on the YouTube channel as well, so you can watch it anytime. And thank you so much for your time tonight, Paul.
Thank you for having me, Naomi. I look forward to hearing from anyone that's got any questions or comments. And thank you so much for having me on tonight. Keep evolving, everyone, and we'll chat soon.
Thanks. Bye.
Ciao.